All right, let's see if anyone's going to be in here. I could not get the actual the scheduled ones up for some reason. So let me go ahead and see. Okay, we got a couple people in here now. Sorry, guys. I was trying to figure out how to actually get in there, and I could not get into it. Um, just start typing in there just to make sure you guys can hear me and the volume's okay. Just put my kids down. Hey, what's up, Anthony? All right, so who else is in here? Just want to make sure I will be able to answer some questions once we get everything cut off. So I think I'm gonna have to post that we're in this thing because I couldn't get the. I don't know how YouTube works. I like tried to get into the ones that were scheduled, and it like screwed up, and I couldn't like start the video and like have something linked. Giancarlo. All right. If we're able to, I don't know if we can go into the ones that are like the upcoming ones, but if people are sitting in there, maybe we can link them this one so they know we're in this one because I couldn't get the other one to work. Okay, hold on. I think if I'm able to, let me just see if I can link this particular YouTube that we're in right now so they at least know where to go. I'm going to say sorry. Couldn't get into the stream, so I started a new one. Okay, so it looks like a couple of people are finding their way in here, and I think I had like two up because I didn't. I'm gonna learn. I have to learn how to use YouTube because I have no idea. Like, okay, good. Everyone can hear me loud and clear. That's good. Let me go ahead and go to the other room also, just to make sure that they come in here too. Because I wanted to schedule stuff and I did it through YouTube. And as soon as I did that, I realized I messed up because one of them was scheduled through YouTube itself and the other one was through OBS. And then neither one of them. Okay. So I say, sorry guys. Couldn't get this one to work. Are in this. All right, so there's more people coming over now. Thanks. All right, I pasted the new link in the other video chat. Thank you very much for doing that. All right, so let me go back and just kind of catch up, and hopefully we'll be able to get some of the people over into this, this room. I apologize, guys. I like set this up and I didn't really know what I was doing, and so. All right, so let's see. We're getting some people in here now. We got about 30 people in here now, and that's fine. And I still need to finish up the DD. I spent most of the day with my kids and wife, and so I've got now a couple hours that I need to kind of talk to you guys and start writing some DD so I can get it out on Reddit before tomorrow morning. All right, what am I expecting by the end of the week? I mean, it's all going to depend on the chart and where we're going to go from there. So let me pull up a couple things and get kind of set up while we're getting things ready. Let me see. Let's go ahead and pull up a couple different charts I like to use. All right, so we can use that one for now. Kind of zoom out. Let's take a look at more like the hourly. All right, so this is kind of what I'm expecting right now, just for anyone that was wondering. So this is kind of where we were, right? We hit that, that area right there. We've been chopping around, and then this is where we kind of got that Reddit hype, right around, I think this was a Friday, if I remember correctly. Is that about right? And then this was the Monday after the Reddit hype. And as you can see, we kind of moved up a little bit in the pre-market, and then we just shot up. I mean, we went from like the low, like the mid twos to, we'd hit like 350 or something like that. So that's a huge jump up. We consolidated, made a attempt at the high, and then they kind of chopped it down, and they've been trying to kind of keep it under control. But then this is basically 3 days later. So 1, 2, and then 3. We saw that move up. So another large buying thing, and then we're gonna have 1, 2, and my guess is they're gonna try to push it down again, just like they did here. We ran up. They gave you. We might spike up, and then we'll see it push back down. Because that's, if you just follow this, I mean, you pushed up, and then they gapped up. We'll probably gap up, is my guess. And then they'll let you kind of, get FOMO, because this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to get as much premium as they can out of you. So they want everyone buying in. We've had all this weekend of hype. Everyone's rockets. They're going to get you to FOMO in on the first couple minutes, and then they're just going to short it down. And so you're going to pay the most amount of money on those premiums for call options, all that kind of stuff. And then they're going to push it down and make you doubt yourself. So that's kind of what I expect for, tomorrow morning. We'll probably kind of chop up, and then maybe kind of explode up into like the 5s, get above 5, and then, they'll short it back down into the 4s, make everyone think, oh, this must be it. So that's that day. But I expect, let's see. So if we had a lot of buying pressure this day, right? So 1, 2, 3. So that would be maybe the 12th or the 13th. I would expect to maybe see another leg up. Because typically what happens is you have these, they kind of chop up, we'll gap up, create a bull flag, chop around, consolidate, and then, because they're basically covering in sections. That's typically how these runs go. And if we go back, for example, on the daily, let's look at this one right here. So if you look back and you say, okay, now these are a little bit different, and I'll just show you kind of why these are different. So the last time we ran up, it was a lot more gradual. We had been really oversold. They were pushing the stock down, and then boom, we hit 304, and that was the spring. So if you look at Wyckoff, usually you can kind of see there's a spring area, and then from there you'll see kind of recovery, and it's usually pretty good. It's but this is what was really interesting. As you will see here, this is where we started getting some actual volume. But then this is where FOMO kicked in. And because of this particular day of the run-up, and there was a little bit more volume, I think, if you look at the volume here, it was probably, 60 million. But remember, the float was a lot smaller then. So 60 million on a really small float of 30 million, that's going to cause some FTDs and stuff like that. And that's, if you count the days, 1, 2, 3, this is here, them trying to short it down. And then this is when they had to start buying. And this is obviously the biggest day, because this was 200 something million in volume on a stock that had 30 million float. So this one started a lot more gradually. This is basically retail. I think I saw some people saying this is over. This is way undervalued. And that's when retail kind of went in because it was cheap shares, and that's kind of where we're at right now. And then you kind of move on up really aggressively. This one right here is a little bit different, because this one moved up slightly on low volume. So it was basically somebody pushing the price up, and I think I talked about it on Friday. But this one was interesting because look at that first day. I mean, we did what was 100, and I think the actual volume was 150 or 160, something like that, for that first day. And sorry, I'm just reading through some of the comments. But yeah, we actually started with a bang. We didn't just we came out of nowhere and just boom, interest was in the stock. And now here's the thing. So we know that the float's small. Like, you guys have seen the numbers. I think I put it out there in my last due diligence. I think we said it was around like 25, 26 million is the free float. Now, we've got millions of people buying in on the stock. I mean, like, between institutions, and some of them are selling, and like there's constantly buying and selling in the market, especially on something that's volatile and moving on high volume. You're going to see a lot of turnover on those. But what's interesting is, the short volume, or the short interest is not really gone. I mean, they closed some positions, but like it's nowhere near what. So we're going to probably see a nice really push up, and let's pull out a little bit and just kind of go over. Here, so let's take a look at some things right now. So I just want you to kind of, I don't have any special tools, but basically just take a look. I can't do it. Just one here. Maybe I can. No, can't do it. Okay. So if you look at the aggregate short volume ratio, that's basically just the percentage. You take your aggregate short volume and you divide it by the total volume, and that's supposed to give you basically how many shorts were used in the day, percentage-wise. So about like almost 58%, almost 60% of Friday was shorted. The short, or there was a significant amount of short volume happening that day. And that happens throughout. Like, they short, they close, they close the position, they short, they close the position. But it's just showing you there's a good amount of shorting happening still. And they're using shares that are just coming out of thin air, it seems like. I'm supposed to, like, not, I guess I was, talking to a couple people, and they were saying, hey, listen, you can't throw out accusations without, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll back off of that. So it doesn't really make sense where they're getting all these shares, considering the utilization has been 100% since March 8th. So if you think about that, since March 8th, there's been very little shares to, come up with. But yeah, they were still able to push down the price, but we had no volume. But all of a sudden, now that we got volume, they're coming up with millions of shares at a time. Where did they get them? I'm not supposed to speculate, apparently, for legal reasons. So all I can tell you is I don't know where they're coming from, because according to all the things I've been researching, there shouldn't be that many shares that they're able to just pull out of thin air. So, but I was going to say, if you actually look, I mean, we're still very much on the short squeeze. I think we're still number one. And we've moved down now on the gamma squeeze, but that will probably move up throughout tomorrow. They're also pushing a lot of the actual, if you look at the buys, they're actually pushing them off exchange, which means that retail's buying in, but they're just basically ending up in dark pools. Okay, let me go back to this. So at the end of the week, I'm kind of thinking we're going to be somewhere in this area, because they're going to let it run up and then they're going to try to push it back down, is my guess. And that's just based off of, like, it really depends. Like, if retail and other people are, like, now starting to, like, hear about the stock. I mean, we are not even talking about, like, the Wall Street Bets guys or any, when people start seeing something move and then they start kind of researching it, if they start coming across our stuff, they might actually understand, like, what's going on here, maybe read the due diligence and go, oh, there's something going on here. And then at that point, they're going to start realizing that this is kind of a special play, and that, this poor company got kind of just, I mean, you start out here, IPO'd down here, and then they had a nice run up, and then they really didn't get shorted, though, until right here. This is where shorts came in hard. Like, right here around, I think it was like July, like middle of the summer, the shipping crisis had kind of happened, and they decided, okay, this is a company that we think are going to go over. So they started just pushing down the price hard. But then retail and some other, institutions were like, that's a little too low, because the book, I looked at the balance sheet before I bought it, and it was like, that doesn't make sense where they are. So, retail bought in, but this is where everything kind of went wonky. And then I'll show you some indicators which make me think that they weren't expecting retail to hold on this long, and I'll kind of walk you guys through that. Let me pull up that actually while I'm here. Let me log on to my TD real quick. My Thinkorswim. Sorry, I should have been a little more prepared, but I was putting my kid to sleep and he was fighting it. He's 1 and he'll be 2 in like 2 months. So here we go. We'll log in real quick. If I can type my password right. How's everyone's evening? Oh, now there's problems loading. Hold on. I got an error message. Okay, hold on. Disclosures and third-party agreements. All right, let's look at a chart real quick. See if we can get it up. It's not working. Okay, hold on. But hold on. Yeah, there's a bunch of errors with it. Hold on. So this is like one of the like trade accounts I just use for fun, and like I go through and throw YOLO options on this one. But let me see if I can get this to load up where I need it. All right. So. Let me see if I log in again, if it will do it. Give me a second. Try it from scratch again. I don't think we can add indicators that overlap each other on Webull. So let me see if I can log in again and see if I can get it to work. Let's see, charts. It's still screwed up. Thinkorswim must be having some issues. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can get this up. Because I want to show you guys basically where I came up with some of the divergences. Let me see if I can just escape out of there. Still have it come up. I may have to shut down my computer though. I don't know because it keeps giving me errors every time I log in. Okay, we'll skip it for now. And let me just, because if not, I'm going to have to restart the entire computer. Okay, so let me go ahead and start reading through people's comments because I was just talking for a little bit. But let's see real quick. Okay. Okay, so I've seen people from Discord calling for a dip on Monday. Some say it will fly. Some saying we need to cool down. What do I think? All right, so, I mean, let's go up here to where we're at. If you look on the daily, our RSI has crossed over 70. So we're at 73 right now. So we are running hot on the daily. Now, these things can go all the way up and just max out at like 100 and be pinned there for like a day or two. But eventually it does need to cool off. Like I said, my guess would be we will gap up pre-market, and then we will push up high to trap all the YOLO people and the people paying the highest amount of premiums, and then they will push the price down. That's what I think is going to happen on Monday, and honestly, you can just kind of go from there. But all right. But I'd be looking for, if you've got more cash that you're trying to enter in on, I would expect them to, push the price down. That's going to be their thing. It'll run first thing and then hopefully do that there. Semper Fi, Steven. I was going to say, got on 13. Let's see. I got out 07, but yeah. All right. So my audio's fine, volume's fine. Okay. Good to see me back. Question is, can we beat the Hedges as retail investors? Yeah, so here's the thing. Like, they have so many shares to buy, and the more people that come in on this stock, they're going to end up being like, like, honestly, it's they've got so many shares to cover, and they don't have enough shares. Retail really did own a good amount of shares. The indicator that I can't pull up right now without probably having to restart my computer kind of showed it. If you go back to Friday's video, I did cover it a couple times, and we'll probably end up having to like clip that and then maybe upload it separately. Let's see. But yeah, I mean, we're going to go up. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. It's not a matter of like, it's just when. It's not if. We're going up. Like, there's too many people buying in. The options chains are on fire. Like, they're gonna have to hedge all these, calls that are, going in the money, and they're gonna do their hardest to push it down and make it scary. Like, all these other squeeze stocks that you see just retail freak out. But we've done the numbers, and we know how much they have to cover. And if they're not covering it, and that's just the price. And then if you can get in on lower dips, then get on lower dips, because that's what I'm doing. Let's see. Are you planning to stream at all during the week? So I will stream, but I will not be able to talk because I'm going to be at work. So I will try to talk to you guys, and I will be on the Discord, and I will try to do YouTube if I can, but I'll be honest, you're better off trying to get me in Discord, and I'll just kind of give you my thoughts throughout the day if you're in there. Okay, late night DJ vibe. All right, let's see. You're saying that I should wait even after a spike and drop, then buy. Yeah, I mean, if you want to get in the lower, you get more shares for your money. That's what I'm going to try to do. Hey, guys, real quick, when Lambo? Hopefully in the next 2 weeks. Chris, boards you post quicker than Lambo. Yep. All right. So who knows what tomorrow will bring? It's spiked. It's typical to open. And that's correct. I was going to say, normally you'll have a huge spike. Some people will sell out because they're, making a good amount of money if they're gapping up like, 15, 20%. We already went up 21% on Friday. So, for some people, 50% gain, that's enough. They're going to jump out. But a lot of us know that their amount of shares they have to buy and the amount of volume we've gotten has been, they just don't match up. Like, if retail's buying and holding, then it's going to cause them problems. The biggest thing is you're going to see FTDs start spiking. And I think I had that up. Let me see. Where did I put Fintel's stuff? Yeah, so like, here's Fintel. So you can see there was very little, FTDs happening. And then slowly they've been like kind of building, and this is last month's. So what the FTDs will do is you will go from like, we were starting to get a little bit more. If you actually consider the volume that we started getting right around here to move this up here for a price, you're going to start seeing FTDs like this, because they're going to be desperately trying to, they're basically using shares that they don't have in hopes that eventually they'll be able to close them. They're basically kicking the can to try to get eventually when the price goes up. So you'll see a correlation. Like here, there was not a lot of FTDs, As soon as the price started going up, right around here, this first bit, notice if you count out the days, a couple of days after, then all of a sudden you had this huge amount of FTDs. And, this is when retail, then the price is going up, the FTDs are going down because they're actually covering. But then as this goes back down, you see this other spike up. And so I expect the same sort of thing to happen. We're having nothing, we're having nothing, we're having nothing. The price starts going up a little bit. We're having this nothing, 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 nothing. Price goes up a little bit, and then you're just going to see a massive amount of FTDs just, piling up. And hopefully at that point, that will drive the price up also, because they need to be able to close those out. Okay. Let's see. Wait, they only came late? Yeah, so shorts back when, I think I showed you on this, shorts didn't really enter hard until like here-ish, like when the shipping crisis happened. Like shorts got even bigger into it right around here. This is when they were just hammering the stock down, because for them it makes sense. If you start shorting it at like 19, 18, 15, you can drive that price down and be profitable for a long time, because for them they're going, this stock isn't worth 18, 15, all that stuff. This is where they got greedy though, because right around here, this was an earnings call. Right here, we actually beat on earnings, and they were not expecting that. And so the stock actually started running up, and they were like, well, no, that's not what's in the plans. You're supposed to be a dying stock. We're going to push you back down. And so that's what they did. And I mean, if you look at this short volume during this time frame, they shorted a lot of shares, and they bought in the money puts, and they pushed this price down. And every time we got these little bump ups, they may have had to some failure to deliver to buy, but for the most part, they pushed the stock down, and then we got into this last portion where they, I think 210 was the spring, and now they're chopping around, and then boom, this is when we got attention. We got attention right here, that Friday before, because I think I posted a DD about I think it was why Aterian's like the one on this date, and then that Sunday it started getting some traction, and then it was mentioned, one of the higher mentioned stocks, and then next thing you know, that Monday we just kind of flew up, and it wasn't all me. It was just, I think the people had read it, they started researching it, and then they kind of noticed like, oh wait, this stock's pretty undervalued, and there seems to be a good amount of buzz on it, and somebody in our group claims that they have a large position and they bought up a lot of shares, and so did other people. And this is a stock that the short interest was very high, so it didn't take much for them to just, the price was low. You have a lot of buying power when you're that low. So when you're in like the twos, you can buy a lot of shares, and that's what happened with GameStop too. All right, so let me get back to the questions. But yeah, they didn't really get heavily shorted until right about here. Like when they were 48 a share, they weren't even getting shorted that much. Like they were just going up and going up, and then that's right around, they pushed it down, and that's when shorts really started entering. And it's like once they saw the stock in a downtrend, they were like, all right, let's go hammer this thing, and that's what they did. And they almost got it down here, and then it spiked back up. So let's see. Penny flipping, buying you back, literally giving market makers a share they don't have. If you actually do the DD, yeah, I mean we know what the numbers are. Like, all right, can we lay off the emojis? People are going to give you emojis even more when you tell them not to do emojis. So, all right, do you think the big funds are going to wait till this goes up into the 20s area and they're going to take profits? Yeah, I mean, it's possible, but they don't own that many shares. We actually have all the numbers up. Let me see if I can pull the sheet up real quick. And I can show you that they only own like 14 million shares or something like that. Like, it's not, like, retail actually owns more of the stock than institutions. So, I mean, they can buy in if they want, but for the most part, they are not the owners of Aterian. Retail is the owners of Aterian. All right, so just to show you right here, institutional ownership right here, that's like your toots, they own like less than 12 million, and mutual funds own like 3.4. So like that's not that much. So yeah, I mean, retail really owns the majority of this stock. All right, let's see. But yeah, so I mean, we burn through 12 million, and retail will probably eat up that volume, or at least if other people will be entering it in, because we're not the only ones in here. Retail's in here. There's other long hedge funds trying to like get a part of this. There's a whole bunch. Like, you can tell on Friday, retail doesn't have that kind of control. Retail is not able to just slap the ask and do that. They don't know how to do that, but other institutions do. So somebody on Friday was helping retail out with that and going, yeah, we'll slap the ass for this to make sure we finish over 450. And that's why they were fine letting it drop in aftermarket, because they don't care. They got what they needed, which was they needed that price to be over 450. So these, market makers would hedge, and they had to chase, or they had to deal with the gamma next week, and then more and more of their stuff ends up in the money. All right. Try erasing my cache history and re-log in. Okay. For a Marine, you're pretty smart. I must say, too many red and cans when you're in. Yeah. I mean, for a Marine, I guess I am. That's a pretty low bar, and I love my guys, but yeah, not a real high bar there. All right, let's see. What browser am I using? It's Thinkorswim. That's what it was. How long have you been working at Citadel? How much manipulation is going to happen tomorrow? Do you think it'll be pushed below 4? I mean, it's possible. I mean, this stock is going to fly around. And the reason why in my DDs, I keep telling people, if you ignore the price and just look at what's happening, are they covering? Like, to me, the price doesn't matter. Like, the price is just something that is there. And I know that's the only thing retail ever pays attention to. It's like, how much money am I making? How much money am I losing? But like, the way I look at it is, I'm looking at the actual, are they covering, or are they just shorting it back down? Because they can manipulate the price wherever they want. Like, these guys have every tool in their box. They've got more money than, Solomon. They have all the tools to make the price go wherever they want. The thing that they don't have, though, is as the cost to borrow goes up and they have to reshort and reshort and reshort, and there's less and less shares, they're going to eventually have to pay, a large amount of money, and then it becomes really unprofitable, because they made it a huge amount of profit pushing it down once before. But at this point now, it's starting to eat into profits, and it's like, at some point you're better off just going long on the thing and letting it pop. At least you can make more money on, like, out of the money. They'll be able to load it up, and that's probably part of what they're doing. Now, depends on how many shares they potentially could have used that maybe didn't exist. All speculation, but like, if they were worried about those, then that's the reason why they keep fighting this, because they can't allow this to keep running, because then it puts all of that in danger. Bullish on the stock, yeah. I'm just stating the facts. All right. So big whales and funds are going to take their profits on the way up. Yeah, and that's fine. They can do that. Like, there are funds that are like have horrible cost basis. That we've got, like, some of them had averaged down a little bit, but like, I think some of the, like, BlackRocks and some of the other ones are like $17 cost basis, like, or like average. So there's some big guys out there that have really bad averages on this stock, and they may not want to sell because they're just like, oh well, maybe we should have. All right. You convinced us, bro. We're all taking profits and buying back in. Yeah, I mean, you guys will do what you want. Like, I'm not a financial advisor, and like, everyone trades how they want to. But I'm just, for me, I know what I'm doing as far as like, I'm long on this. So like, we bought a large position at the bottom. I feel confident holding it. They can push it back down to 3 and stuff like that, and it's not going to scare me, because I know that they owe shares, and until they deliver those shares, I'm cool with it just chopping around, and they can do whatever they want. Let's see. Can they keep issuing FTDs forever without any sort of responsibility? Well, so they were on the reg show for like 29, 30 days last time. In, I guess this was what, September? I think that's when they were on the reg show. August, September. So they were on that for like a month straight. And basically they allowed them to cover at when the high trail shares. So they basically, I have kind of proof on the other chart, but essentially what ended up happening is, need to get that chart up. It's so much easier when I can show people. Let me see if I can do this. How many people are in here? 64. That's, it's a good amount for, I guess, for a Sunday for us. But I may, at the end of this, what I'll do is I will go ahead, and if you guys want to stick around, or I can do it right now, I'll just shut down my computer and restart it, and then we can try again to make sure that we can get into that indicator, because it's really interesting when you actually see it, because you can see that the OBV, the money flow, all goes up, the ADL goes up, but then as soon as retail got in on the second spike over like here, the ADL just gets slammed down, but the OBV and the money flow actually are increasing on these candles right here. And it's showing that retail's buying in and like FOMOing in while they're actually actively pushing down the price. And so it gets super interesting to see the divergence, and then from there, like, they can't get the money to flow out the way it should have. Like, when we should have seen a massive sell-off in this section right here, but we didn't actually. So this entire thing right here was supposed to be this massive sell-off, all the way down. Everything's bleeding, another leg of it, and the indicators don't show that. And so that's where I started getting weird about, like, how come all we're seeing is this ADL just getting sliced down, and all these other indicators are staying up? And it's interesting when you compare the two, because this is the same time frame when the CEO was saying that they're using naked shares, and they hired that third party. So it kind of lines up with what I was seeing. Let's see. I'm not trying to convince anyone. How did you come up with this? I don't know. Oh, you're talking to Chargers. The more attention the stock gets, the harder it is to keep issuing FTDs. So liquidity will pick up, and so you'll see shares traded back and forth. But overall, once the volume gets too high, there's not enough stock to go around. And so what you're going to see is a bunch of like T+3s that will start spiking, and it's going to become a problem later on. All right, let's see. Found out about ATER this weekend, going in with stocks and options tomorrow. Yeah, and I was going to say, I mean, I don't know. It may just go straight to the moon and never look back. But a lot of times what ends up happening on Monday mornings is it will spike up and then it will bleed off. And then they'll try to scare everyone and make them try to take profits early. So it's really up to you. But you may see a nice little drop off, and you may be able to enter those. Not financial advice, though, obviously, because I'm not qualified to give it. When Moon was a live stream, that was a great thing. Thank you. Yeah, if you're able to go back and look at that one, I need to figure out how to clip that stuff. I'm not a YouTuber, guys. Like, I'm literally just in my basement. I couldn't even get the scheduled streams up. I had to start a new one because I have no idea what I'm doing. I just put my kids down to sleep. So, like, I'm not a YouTuber. I'm trying to, eventually, if I could do this full time, that'd be awesome. But I think I started a Patreon because somebody had said I should do that. But my wife said I'm not allowed to do it until I actually surpass what I'm making now. And at this point, I think I've got like $200 coming in. So we got a long ways until I'm able to live stream. All right, ATER number 1. Love from the active Navy. All right, good on you guys. We used to ride in your equipment. That's what Marine stands for, if anyone doesn't know. My ass rides in Navy equipment sometimes. All right, ATER shares. Okay, they started covering the ADL shares. Yeah, I mean, so the ADL has gone up. ADL, though, is just covering the price, not looking at volume. So they have started buying a little bit. What we should see is at least... Now, the ADL will not show just shorts, though. It shows everybody. So it could also be that institutions are buying and shorts are still being stubborn and not buying. So it doesn't actually mean covering patat. But yeah, I was going to say there's obviously money flowing in and it's driving up the price. ADL basically just shows you the price, ignoring the volume. All right, wouldn't it be ironic if some geniuses are out there create a short the hedge funds? I mean, this is kind of it. Let's see, taste their own medicine. Yeah. Do I see it going as high as 40? So it really all depends on like retail. I mean, like if retail got the attention that GameStop did, then anything's possible because the float's so small that like this thing will move until they can actually cover those shares. Semper Gumby. Okay, fuck it. I'll hang. Reset that bad boy. Okay. Someone said that they'd be cool with hanging out for a second. Well, I get it. Don't you think the stock has enough liquidity for CNS to effectively kill a squeeze on the stock? No, I don't. Based off the volume, they owe too many shares, and the more and more that retail still has in the money calls, it's just going to push up the price. I can pull up the options chains. Give me a second. We can take a look at them together. Let's pull up this one real quick. Okay, let's pull up. See where we ended on Friday, because I was not able to get a ton of research in today. I'm going to be doing most of it tonight once I end up, getting off with you guys, because, or maybe I can even show some of you guys what I do. But it looks like, so let's pull up a screenshot of this, because this is going to be super interesting. And what we're going to see next week is what the volume coming in on some of these weeklies is going to be. Because this upcoming week, there's a ton of calls that are in the money right now. Can't see. I think, actually, I do have a picture of the ones from Friday. So let's take a look at those compared to the ones from today. So let me see if I can get them up real quick. All right. Let's see. So we'll have that one. Oops. That one up, and we'll bring up. Give me 2 seconds. I gotta screenshot this and. Okay, we'll crop that real quick and start going. We open up that one as ATER for 14 should be, I think, the Thursday, because it's Good Friday. I wrote that DD and I was rushing, then I was live streaming at the beginning and I was trying to just get it out, and I totally blanked that it was Good Friday, so that's my bad. For anyone that read that was like, that guy's an idiot. You're absolutely right, I was. Let's do this. Bring it up here. Okay, so let's compare these two next to each other. Maybe get this to be a little bigger. Is that all I can hear? Zoom in. Okay. So here is Friday. This is where we finished. Was that right? No, that was April. Yeah, we actually finished up here, didn't we? We finished above 4. I guess I must have done this one. This was Monday. Okay, so that's not the one I need. I need to get one that was from Friday. Give me 2 seconds and see if I can find that one. Let's try this one. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so the 450s ended up in finishing out in the money. All right, so all of these right here, if you add these up together, and not every one of them, some of them closed that throughout the day, but basically, if we were just to take like maybe 80% of these, you're looking at least a couple million shares right here. That, like, between these two, especially the 350s and the 4s, you've got at least like 2 to 4 million shares that are going to be owed. And that's a significant amount considering the float is probably 25, 26 million. So you're talking about share, and you're assuming also that there are just random shares sitting around when we've had all these days of buying. I mean, we had 165 million in volume, and then we had another day of like 70 something, or let me see if I can pull up the volume numbers. But yeah, like, and then we ended up with another 50 something, or it was Fridays. It was like 60 something million, right? What was the volume? It was 86 million. Yeah, like, so we've had all these really high volume days where people are buying these shares and they don't have that kind of shares. And so what you're going to have is like all these brokers who sold all these shares are going to start scrambling around now, and they're trying to locate these shares because say you bought on Monday, well, your shares were due on Thursday because T plus 3. So if you bought this day, right, your shares would have been 1, 2, 3, and then possibly even 4. Like, so, like, depending on when they bought it. So if it was like towards the end of the day, or on Tuesday, they were like, okay, this thing moved, let me buy in on Tuesday. All those shares will be due on Friday. So like, you're looking at like 4 million shares already, not including the ones that were like common shares that are going to be in the option chains alone that are going to be due. So if you say, let's say 4 million shares are due hypothetically this upcoming week by Tuesday. Now, they should have already hedged all them, and that's what this is essentially. This is them hedging into next week, and now they should be able to somewhat de-hedge some of them, depending on what options come in on Monday. But at the same time, what we're going to end up seeing is all these, say people were buying on Friday. These are going to be due on Wednesday then. And so it keeps kind of going until people stop buying the stock, because the higher the price is, the harder it is for retail to keep the pressure on. But at these lower levels, when they already get in, they're going to start causing FTDs, and these FTDs are going to sit on them for a while because they're not going to be. The more and more retail keeps buying in, and retail will keep buying in until it's like over like 10, 15. That's my guess. It's just because once it gets over like $10 a share, then it gets a little harder to keep that pressure on, because you're not buying like hundreds of shares at the time when it's like $2-3. It's much higher than that. So, but yeah, you've got like 4 million doing shares doing that, and then let's go back to this part right here. So we showed you there was like roughly 4 million shares that were going to be due this week, and then on top of that, we've got these ones here that already finished in the money that should be hedged. But a lot of times these market makers aren't used to retail actually asking for their shares. So could there be another spike because retail might have actually let them finish in the money and says, no, we want our shares, give it to us on Tuesday. So that's the other thing, because they have T plus, I think, 1 or 2 depending on the options. So they're going to owe those shares as well if they didn't hedge them properly. So that's why I don't think it's just going to be like there's not enough liquidity. Like, they'll be able to like push the price up and down all they want, but the FTDs are where they're going to get screwed. Got a fat one to pass time. #legal. All right. So are there going to be buy walls tomorrow? I mean, it all depends. I mean, it depends on who's getting in on this. That's the real question. Who's going long? Who's going to try to push it short? Like, to get it under control. The more pessimistic thinks 25. Yeah, I mean, so there are warrants at 25, and if they can get them up there, then I mean that will cause at least a slowdown. 15, there's not much there. There's only like 318 or 290, depending on the DD. We were trying to figure out. I think Rob pointed out that he only counted 290. According to Dilution Tracker, they were tracking 318,000 at 15, the warrants at 15. But there's not a lot. I mean, honestly, that's like hitting a pebble in the road when a Mack truck's coming. So that's not going to slow them down. Praying for 40th. Yeah, I mean, if it goes up to 40, the amount of people in here that are going to be insanely wealthy is going to be very, very high. I may be wrong, but from the review I've done, ADL detects big orders. Shorts are using that when slamming the stock up. Toots go off market to buy up stock chunks. That is to remain undercover. ADL is good at shorting, covering detection. Yeah, so I mean, like, I showed it on the other thing that you can kind of see, and eventually I will get that other, the Thinkorswim up, and I can kind of show you what I've been going through and looking at that. But all right. Show us the way wise one. I'm not that wise. Don't listen to me. I'm a crayon eating marine. All right. Can we price Aterian passing 25? Yeah, I mean, it can go up as high as retail or even these toots that are pushing it. Like, they will slow down a little bit at 25. And it all depends. Like, if we are at this point where people are still FOMOing in at 20, 22, 23, those 5 minute warrants are just going to come and go. Wendy, yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, I don't normally stream. That's not really my thing. I normally just sit on the Discord and talk to people, but people said they wanted to kind of hear and find out what was going on. And, I hope this pops soon. I don't have the patience for another 15-month squeeze. Yeah. So this is in a different spot than GameStop or AMC, TAC. The reason I say that is because the price. So retail holds the most power when the shares are low. And that's because we actually can afford them. Like, when GameStop ran up to 200 a share, no, not everyone can afford hundreds of shares at 200 a share. It's just the plain simple truth, and that's why the stock split for them is smart, because whatever the breakdown of the stock split's going to be, the shorts actually have to then multiply their short shares by that. But retail all of a sudden gains back power, and that's why often, if you actually look at like Tesla, every time they split or every time they got a short to cover, they would issue an ATM and they would raise more money, which would help their balance sheet. And then over time, it just basically pushed them up. And they never wanted to admit that Tesla was naked short sold, but at the same time, it would indicate for just by their they were a small company that all of a sudden became part of the Fortune or the S&P 500. And it did that because every single time that they were having they would get pushed down, there would be FUD articles everywhere, because I was I owned them for a long time. I bought them, I think, at like 60 for Tesla, and I stuck with it, because I mean, every time they pushed it down, they were like, this stock's going to 20. I was like, I don't think it is, so I'm just gonna hold it. And so every single time they did that, then I bought more. Every time, if you stick with your guns, and at some point they have to let that's what happened with Tesla. They basically did a slow squeeze, because they couldn't, if they let it just moas, that'd be one thing. But like, Tesla inadvertently got squeezed because Elon was really good at keeping people in on the stock with hope, and that's all they needed, because shorts couldn't shake retail. And retail eventually just said, yeah, we're fine owning the stock at whatever price, and we don't really care. We'll just keep buying more. And eventually it just made them squeeze. So the reason why Aterian is different than those two is because we actually have buying power at this point still. Like, most people can afford $4 shares. They can buy a couple hundred of them. And if you have enough, if there's 1 million people buying 400 shares, that's way more than the float. And so, and if retail decides to hold them, it's causing huge problems for them, and you're going to see tons of FTDs, and that's what's going to end up happening. So the more and more retail understands that they actually hold all the cards in this, I mean, that's until they start covering their share. Like, at this point, we saw in Ortex that they covered a handful of shares according to Ortex, but it's like 76,000, I think was what I saw. Maybe it wasn't that much. Maybe it was 200,000. I think they may have updated it since I saw it. Let me double check and just see if I can pull up Ortex to see what they said they closed at. Okay, Aterian. I am on my friend's account, and I don't want to blow up his spot, but yeah, they said they basically returned 37K. So they only have like 10 million more to go. But they did cover 37K according to Ortex. So there you go. 37K down, 10 million to go. So eventually they will start closing their short positions if they get squeezed out. And that's kind of what's going on. Thanks to the DD and the streams. If things go to plan, you will have legend status. I don't think so. I was going to say, I was joking on Friday that I am like very boring in real life. I am, a dad of 2 young kids, and, my wife thinks I'm an idiot that just likes stocks, and that, nobody really knows who I am. My friends, a couple of my friends know that I write some stuff on Reddit, but they don't really know anything of that. And so Yeah, it's like I told people I'm not fancy. I drive a 2013 Hyundai Elantra. Like it is what it is. All right, you could start another instance of the browser. I did try that. Use a command line. Um, yeah, I don't know what's going on with my Thinkorswim, but I was gonna say it was giving me errors every single time, and I've restarted it 3 times. So I'll have to probably either shut down my PC and maybe get in that way, or maybe it's TD that's having the problem. Let's see. Wouldn't it be in Aterian's best interest to not release warrants at 25? It's not their decision. So they signed a contract essentially with, I think the people that own those warrants are actually. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. I think it's MacArthur, who is actually an insider, if I remember correctly. Who's got the? Let me pull up that real quick. All right, the merger warrants at 25. Sorry, the February 21 warrants was there's 5.3 million of them, exercise price of 25.10, and MacArthur, who is an insider, owns them. Healing Solutions, it's actually a company they acquired, and High Trail, and then North Brown Train Enterprises are the ones that own those, and then individuals, a couple of individuals own those particular ones. And the stock price at the time was, going up into the 40s, so like they those were pretty good for the warrants. They felt like they were pretty safe, but they've gone down since then. So, but yeah, if they hit those, they're gonna take a nice chunk of cash down. So I was gonna say the warrants, they don't have control of those. Those warrants were given out by the company and sold for 25.10 a share, and that is not up to the company. They've already sold them, so that's a contract that somebody else has. But those warrants actually will not be that bad, depending on the volume. If we get up that high, I mean, it's going to be a speed bump, but it's not going to be like, oh, it can't go higher than this, because I've watched AMC, I've watched GameStop. I mean, the only thing at this point, let me just see, what does it say there? Yeah. So anyway, you don't have a choice. If you sell a warrant, that's a contract that you have with somebody else, and they can't take those back. Be like, oh no, my stock could go higher. Take back those warrants. It doesn't work that way. All right, guess what? We break 5, and this starts the trend on stock twits. That's definitely a factor. Huge volume report. Yeah, and the more volume that comes in, the more retail that buys, the more screwed these guys get as far as like they just don't have enough shares. It's plain and simple. Like if the float is only 25 to 26 million, and guess what? Retail owned a lot of that, if not all of it. Like if I know I keep saying I need to look at this other indicator, but like you never saw the money flow out in huge amounts. On the money flow or the OBV or a couple other indicators that I use to watch, kind of like you should have seen the money flowing out of that stock, and it just didn't. And I don't know, the reason why it spiked so hard this time might be because they don't have a ton of shares, and that's why the utilization has been maxed out since March 8th, is because they haven't had any shares because retail owns them all. And it was, nothing was happening, so the cost of borrow was low. But as soon as there was any pressure applied, it showed that these guys really were not in control. They've just been kind of able to control the price and keep retail from paying attention to it. But as soon as retail saw what was going on, and they read some good DDs and they said, "Oh, there's something here," the price flew up, and so is the cost to borrow. Everything's just going the right way if you're long this position. If you're short, then everything went the opposite way. Everything's falling apart right now, and they don't need volume. They want to keep this out of the eyes of as many people as possible. Go to the folder where the browser is installed, right click on it, and you'll see an S. You can S the path. It's not a browser. I was gonna say it's Thinkorswim. I mean, it's technically a like app, but I can try, see if that does anything. Give me 2 seconds. I will attempt to do what he was talking about. I can run as an administrator. Try that. Yeah, it's still not loading any of my options, and like I have like a setup that I normally do with all my, like charting and everything, and none of it's there. So I don't know if TV's having an issue or what's going on, but it's not letting that happen. So, um, but yeah, let's see. Go back to the chat and see what's going on. I have to learn how to read all this. Hold on. There we go. Okay, so I did try to right click it, but yeah, it's having issues still. The price drops, the volume goes up, the volume goes up, win-win. Yeah, I mean, either one. In command line, run this. Okay. Everyone liked this for Anon. He helps get traction for it. Yeah, that'd be great, because I think, honestly, most of the other, yeah, and it's not in my browser, guys, it's my Thinkorswim. So it's like an application. So I don't think it's anything to do with my browser, because I'm not going in and reading charts off, like the TD Ameritrade site. I'm actually using Thinkorswim, and it's having issues, I think, tonight. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, and if you can give me like, I'd rather people honestly. And the problem is, with these live streams, they're so long. Nobody's ever gonna like listen to the whole thing, or maybe some of you guys do. But like, I'm gonna have to learn, or at least maybe people can help me say, hey, listen, this segment to this segment, that's a really good thing. You should probably clip that and put that out as a regular video. But I just haven't had time this weekend to do any of that stuff, because I've got 2 young kids, and my wife gets annoyed when I spend all weekend on stocks and stuff. And if I make it big and earn big from this, I'm going to start sharing your technical talk with my friends and family to make myself look smart. Thanks, man. I was going to say, anytime if you want, maybe someday I'll be able to do this full time. But okay, it's late in France. Froggy, the Froggy wishes you a good night. Good night, Pat. All right, let's see. Do what you got to do. Restart if it's fine. Is there a cap or a ceiling? Is triple digit possible, or is this all volatility? I mean, it all depends on like if people buy and hold and it sticks, and like, so at some point though, like the company will probably issue an ATM. Like that's just the honest truth, because at some point it does. If you're a CEO, it doesn't make sense that if you were sitting at $2 a share and all of a sudden you're in like 20, 30 a share, and your stock is not worth that according to your balance sheet, you need to at least issue some shares out to like earn some cash, because with those levels you're able to shore up a lot of money. And if you sell off a lot of these shares, and they've a dilution shelf, and that's entirely possible. But I had ridden Aterian personally and just said, hey, listen, like, you guys have warrants at 25, in my humble opinion, I think you guys would probably go for those first before you would try to dilute ahead of time, because it just doesn't make sense. If this thing's running, then, and they're like, well, obviously all they said to me was, thank you, we'll pass it on to management or something like that. But, I'm nobody. They don't, they're there to run a business, but if they can raise some cash from this, it's going to really help the company in the long run. So they actually may be, if they short up a huge amount of cash from this run up, they would actually be holding shares, buying them at 2, and if all of a sudden on their balance sheet they're worth 15 or 20, and then they actually have a future, they can do M&A from this. You actually are going to be maybe wanting to hold it long at that point, because that's kind of what happened with GameStop. If they're able to pay off all their debt and then just have cash, man, ooh, yeah, family first. And that's, people were wondering, they're like, dude, just, go ahead and stream this week. We got you. I'm like, hey, honestly, I talked to my wife about it, and it's like, I would love to do that. But at this point, like, from the Patreon that I just started, I think I've up to $200. It's not going to replace my my salary. So until that happens, where I get that, that higher than my take home from work, there's no way I'm going to be able to, like, be a streamer. And, I'm not monetized by YouTube. So I need 1,000 subscribers. And I think, you need like 4,000 view hours, and I'm nowhere near those things. Like, I think I get sometimes 20 to 30 views when I live stream just the, level twos. Rewatching it currently sounds like I did all right buying at end of April $5 calls. Yeah, I mean, you're probably going to be in the money pretty soon, maybe tomorrow morning. Just depends on where things are. If you make us all rich, we can set up your Patreon premiums. Okay, well, that would probably get me, closer to. But yeah, I was gonna say, and if anyone's part of the Discord, I mean, I think we've got a great group in there, and if you want to talk about stocks and like, it's free. Like the whole reason that got started was just because we felt like, retail traders get kind of kicked around and beaten, and just nobody helps you when you're a retail trader. Like, that's the honest truth. Like, nobody's teaching you like, hey, the reason why they're doing this, is this, and you make bad decisions because a lot of times, no one taught you to not, trading. A lot of it is controlling your emotions. Like, when I trade, like, I'm not like running around pumping my fist every time there's a red bar or a green bar, and like I'm not like, walking around crying when there's a bunch of red bars. Like, you get to a point when you get numb to it after you've been trading a long time. Like, all I'm looking for is like the technicals, and I'm also looking for the fundamentals. Like, I know that there's a lot of shares that are floating out there that need to be bought. I know that, and that's why I don't care what the price is until I see those things actually running. Yeah, like, that's what I'm looking for. Let's see. Somebody said wait, GameStop was closing a lot of stores pre-blow up. AMC was closing stores. If the money wasn't coming in, and both skyrocketed. Ader's got the possibility, so jump. Yeah, I mean, Aterian's got a really interesting, like, they could raise a good amount of cash, start doing mergers and acquisitions again, buying up companies that are profitable, and changing their balance sheet around. I mean, like, they've been cash hungry, and that's their biggest problem. But this could essentially raise tons of cash for them. So, like, if you bought it like $2.30 or even like $4 a share, and all of a sudden on their balance sheet they've got 250 or $300 million sitting in their balance sheet, that, and no debt, like, they're going to be worth like $12-15 just off the bat. So, like, that's where it gets interesting, because, and there's still not a lot of shares. So these shorts, and if Aterian doesn't give them more shorts, the price is just going to kind of keep chopping up and chopping up. And so, let's see. Do not touch any hardware running Mac OS. I've never used a Mac, really. I don't know how to use a Mac, so maybe it would be easier to get this YouTube thing up on it. But at this point right now, I just need to learn the PC because that's what I've got. All right, Discord's great. Highly recommend. Yeah, the Discord's great. Say Discord is now publicly traded. Would you go in? Wait, what? Say if Discord is now publicly traded, would you? Oh, would I pay for Discord if it was like an IPO? Yeah, I mean, I don't know where they generate their money though. I'm guessing it's probably. I mean, I know they have like nitro boosters and all that stuff, and they've got like some things that people will pay for their servers, but maybe I don't think they're doing advertising. So I mean, if their only income is coming through there, I'd want to know what they're actually doing to make money. Like, that's one of the things. Like, I try to look at when I look at normal stocks, like any stock, not just like squeeze stocks, but like I want to know where they're going to make their money. Like, BBIG has great ideas, but I need to see them execute some of those ideas and actually get money coming in. Like, Prog's got great ideas, but once again, like, they need to, they get theirs is like a biotech, so it's a little bit different. But like BBIG, the guy Ted Fansworth, he's known for having these kind of outside the box ideas, but they lose money a lot of times, and so that's why I was like, eh. Yeah, and Amy. So here's the thing: like, Amy's basically like an AI that's designed to kind of scan around like Amazon Prime. And they're basically just taking out some of the work that an analyst would do. So like, identify trends, identify like, and so the more and more they tweak that, and they can be like shifting things around without actually hiring someone to do that manually. That will be good for them, and especially when they buy more brands. Aterian looks solid. Wonder why the products. Yeah, I mean, so they own a couple different brands. I believe they own Squatta Potty. That's everyone's favorite to mention first. They're like, "This is the poop company." I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, a bunch of us we own them because when we found out they owned Squatta Potty, we were like, "Oh, we'll go buy Squatta Potty." So I've got one in our house. They also own. Let's see, off the top of my head, they own. I think it's Pohl and Schmidt. They own a spiralizer, the ones that make the like zoodles kind of thing. They own, what was it, Riff 6 and no. I mean, they're so what influences the 166 fastest growing company have to do with? No, I mean that's an award they won. Like, you think about there's a bunch of small caps that like they're probably one of the even though their stock price, their revenue's gone up every single year. So, what's up, F Fun? All right, Aterian looks so solid. Yeah. Let's see what else. What influenced? Yeah, so that basically is just an award they won. It's not fake news. It's just Let me see if I can pull it up. Does that do anything? Just pulling up. All right. Let's see. If it does pop tomorrow, how can we tell if they short it down? So, I mean, all right, let's go to like the 5-minute candle or maybe like the 30. You kind of have to look at the wicks. And so if you look at each wick, right, it's basically you'll see a price start, move up, move down, where it finished. So like that one was a bearish one. Basically, they allowed it to run up and then they pushed it down, trying to get to go into a downtrend. They couldn't get it there. So on this one, went down a little bit. They were trying to push it down. Then it popped up, ended up green. That's why it's green. This one's kind of like a doji, but this is where they kind of were shorting, and maybe some people were selling for profit. They weren't sure what was going to happen with the day. But we had ran up, and remember, this is all pre-market, so like we were already up at this point. So they had maybe covered some through here, or maybe it was just pre-market buying. People were just buying, and then they were pushing it down here. So like you can tell because obviously the price is going to go down when people sell or it's being actively shorted. And then you also have to remember there's short exempts. The market maker gets to use, and so those ones are basically they can short anytime they want to, and they typically short at critical times just to make sure that they can get whatever they wanted. So if they wanted, for example, the right here, if they wanted to get under the VWAP, you might flood out like 200,000 short exempts here to make sure they broke under VWAP, and that's one of those things where if they wanted to make sure certain critical indicators happened, they're able to like push it down. Like they wanted to get under, for example, like some of the exponential or simple moving averages, because those are what a lot of like technical traders trade off of. So they might push it down with some short exempts to try to really break the trend. So like when they dipped it down on these two bars, they were pushing it down way before like so if you were a technical trader, you might have saw that and go, ooh, that looks bad. You would have exited, and then you would have missed this run. Because if you're just doing off of technical trading, you're not looking at sometimes the long like setup of, I knew that they were going to have to cover a lot of shares by Thursday and Friday. So can you explain the charts? Wait, Shame sent on the Discord in the TA section. Let me look real quick and just see. Take a look. Gotta get back in here. All right, so let's see what they got. Okay. I can pull this over, I'm sure. Here. You guys are going to see my Discord for a second. Okay, so if we were looking at this right here, all he did was he pulled Ortex over, and he showed you that the red is the shares on loan. So right now, they have, he didn't show the Ortex data, but I think I have it. The shares on loan currently are, where are they? Cost of borrow, days to cover, shares on loan. So around 16.4 million shares are on loan right now, and that matches up to roughly right here. So you have to think, if there are, for example, a free float of 25 to 26 million. Now, the actual shares that exist out there on the actual float, without, like, for example, the private placement ones, I believe it's like 42 million. So if you think that they've taken out 16.4 million of the 42 million, and now remember 17 million of those are locked up, but like that's a high amount of short shares they're all borrowing, and sometimes they borrow them actually to go quote unquote long, but really what they're doing is they're grabbing those because they want to unload them because they're going to do a waterfall. And what I mean by that is, so there's something called I think it's called bid whacking. I think that's the term, that bid slamming, bid whacking, and what it is basically you buy those shares and you borrow them from brokerages or whatever, with the sole intention of making sure that you can scare the crap out of retail. And so those shares don't need to be sold short. They can actually be just borrowed out. Now, they won't count, as quote unquote short shares because you're holding them long. They're just on loan. But here's what I think they're going to try to start doing is they're going to start trying to waterfall these things to scare the crap out of retail. And that's what they did on GameStop. They've done it on AMC. It's a technique they use. And what it is you borrow those shares long, and then while you're shorting, while you're doing, short exempt, while you're potentially shorting shares you can't locate, you start bid slamming and bid whacking. And what that means is you just sell these shares as fast as you can, and you don't care what price you get for them. Most sellers are not looking at, they want to get as much money as possible. That's not the intention here. The intention here is to make it look as epically horrible as possible. So when you see a huge, great break up, it's psychological. You're like, yeah, these things are going great. Then all of a sudden they hit you with this, they short exempt, and then they slam these bid slams where they're literally, with these high frequency trading machines, they're shooting them out as fast as they can go, and just saying, I don't care what the price is. Get me out of here. Get me out of here. Just sell. And that's where those waterfalls and those breaker trips come from, is because they're able to just slam those prices. And they say, I don't want the best price. I want to get out of this position as fast as possible. And so that's what bid whacking is. Very similar, though, to slapping the ass. Slapping the ass is the inverse of that. So what happens is, if you're, for example, you want to raise the price of a stock as quickly as possible, you just say, I don't care what the price is, just give it to me at the ask price. Whatever that ask price is, I'll pay it. This bid whacking is just the opposite of that. So that's what this could be, is these right here could be shares that are put out on loan, and they're going to be doing some like waterfalling in the next couple of weeks, or like days to weeks, because what they're trying to do is shake the tree. They need retail to sell. This right here, this volume, this volume is essentially showing you that when you have 160 million volume day, and let's just assume like 40 million of it was buying, that's bigger than the float. And when you have multiple in the money calls and bullish puts, and you don't have enough shares. And so right now they're having to do everything they can to try to shake retail out of this, because retail owns the majority of the stock. It's not institutions. This isn't like a GameStop where institutions will be bailing out, and this is more like an AMC, because like AMC was owned mainly by retail, and retail typically get scared off. But educated retail, which I feel like a lot of Aterian is, educated retail knows their worth, and they go, you know what, I don't really care. Like if you just give me a dip, then I'll just buy it. Like, and that's kind of what I'm wondering is, are they gonna, or we're gonna see retail? It's always gonna look bad because they're gonna make it look like retail's bailing, and that's what they do every single time. They're gonna say, and everyone's gonna be on, short squeeze and all these other subs, and they're going, oh, ATER's over, it's all done. But they're not looking at FTDs piling up. They're just basically being paid to like shill and say, hey, listen, we need this, back in control. And if you can get ATER out of, back in this, how do I describe it? If you can get ATER off of everyone's top radar, because right now, like, it's on everybody's radar, or at least it's on a large amount of people's radars. You need to make sure retail doesn't get interested again, because if retail gets interested, then you're going to have something like this where it gets super dangerous for them, because like, these moves are very, very violent. Like within 3 days, you went from, what is that, like 6 a share to almost 20, like in 3 days. That's a violent rip, and that's what you're going to end up seeing. And then this right here was a lot of selling pressure, because they convinced, and this is what I'm talking about, these waterfalls, they convinced retail that everything was over, everything's bad, blah, 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 blah. The only reason it went back up was because they had all these FTDs that were piling up here, ended up hitting around here. So they had to actually deliver shares from the FTDs. So that's what that chart is. Basically, it's just showing you this is your shares on loan. They're spiking again. The last time it was spiking straight up like this, the price shot straight up. And that's probably the correlation he's making is you have these, kind of beginner bars. You might have one big one. And then all of a sudden when these shares on loan all go up, that's when they really are getting nailed by fees, and they're going to have to start, closing. Okay. Let's see, what else are you guys writing? So hopefully that explained the chart to you guys on the Discord. That was just, shares on loan. So those are ones that I'm guessing are going to be used to waterfall this upcoming week. All right, let me see. Anon, are you going to upload this after the stream? I want to listen, but I can't at the... Yeah, this should go straight to, I think, like, the videos. So yeah, it should be viewable again. I thought it was 25. That's the free float. The actual float is like 42 million. Free float is all your institutions and private placements and all that stuff. After that's all locked up, that's what the free float is. But I was going to say, if you actually technically do just the float is different than the free float. So float typically is just insiders. Once you take away insiders, that's the float. And then once you do the free float, that's when you take out institutions, people that typically hold long. It's not a browser. Then my 2 cents are out the window. Yeah. So just flooding the price all the way down. Jim Cramer explained in that interview in the 90s. Yeah, I mean, like, it's just bit slamming. It's been around forever. And if you know what it is, it's not that scary. Like, you just go, all right, let me try to find the bottom of this and then buy in. But it makes retail freak out, because if you're not educated on this stuff, then it will always freak you out. So that's why I always think that education for retail is super important, because, when people see these huge red bars, like, when you saw, for example, this looks super scary to retail. They're like, is it over? Like, we had this like nice run up, like, are we done? Are we done? And then we had a sag, and people were like, and this is when I wrote that doomsday, like, it looks bad, but you're in control. Retail just needs to know their worth. And then we started coming back up that afternoon, and then, we moved up on Thursday, and then on Friday we kind of, been chopping around, but we still went up 20% from the day before, because it was a gap up mainly pre-market. And that's where we're going to be going. And there's going to be a lot of gaps to fill on the downside, but like, you can make money. But at this point, it's still got much more to run, in my humble opinion. That, which is not financial advice, but I'm not planning on selling off. Let's see. So Ortex data, we're not imitating the last squeeze. No, so the Ortex data is different this time, because we got more volume on that the initial like entry. Um, it's actually really interesting because if you look that first day, we got a ton of volume, which on the previous one we kind of gradually went up with volume. This one kind of started with a bang, and then we're gonna even see a higher, like at some point one of these, like when this all gets running, we're gonna see one that's like probably up here again. Like we're gonna see a 200 million day because they're gonna have to deal with all these different shares that are gonna be piling up failure delivers. Dude, I live in Sweden. I'm staying up all night listening to this good stuff. You sound really. Thank you, appreciate it. I know it's probably a lot of work putting together a video series about analyzing balance sheet, but yeah, I was gonna say I probably should put out something. Like I said, I'm not a YouTuber, so I'm not like. You should be able to go back. I think just I know you joined late, but I did start a Patreon. Yeah, I did. I mean, I think I can link it. Is that an issue? I think it's like in the YouTube, but I can probably find it. I think it's somewhere. Does anyone have it? I don't. Let me see if I can find it. I'm like rambling myself. Give me a second. Yeah, I have 14 people right now. So 14 people. I am not going to be able to become a full-time streamer yet. I'm getting an extra $243, but maybe someday that will become enough to supplement my income, and I can do this full-time for you guys. But let's see. I think I can share on Twitter. Then I can paste it here. There. Let me go back up and read through. But yeah, I did start a Patreon, and so hopefully maybe someday, I'll get enough people where I can, quit my day job and I can talk to you guys all day long about stocks. And I mean, I do love this stuff. It doesn't pay the bills. So let's see. What do you think about the price dropping in after hours? After hours don't matter, honestly. Like, I kind of expected it to, because like those guys slap the ass to get the price up. Like the natural price wouldn't have been that high, but somebody was pushing the price up high enough because they wanted to finish and make these, guys hedge those 450s. So those were bulls just basically doing that. So after hours, they don't care, because after hours, they can just, slap the ass a couple times in the after hours and push it up if they want, but they're saving their ammo for next week. That's the bulls are going long here. They're trying to do it for the least amount of money possible. Because if you think about it, why do you spend all this time fighting, the shorts when that that they have to cover? So like all you have to do is just keep this nudging it up, and making them do all the work. Like they're going to push it down, give you better buying opportunities, and then you just have to keep coming in every once in a while to make sure the options finish, above where you want them to. So like, as long as that's happening, you don't need to spend as much money, and that's kind of what they did with GameStop. I think it was Sunvest was the one that was squeezing the like Citadel and the long or the shorts, and they just needed to keep it in those channels to make sure that every time an option expired, it was going to be in the money, or the majority of the shares were in the money, and that they would basically, it was a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point. Well, if you need the dough, can't we all reimburse you for the info? It seems like all of us give you 1% of our cash when this is done. I mean, that would be great, but it's up to you guys. It's not a, I would love to do this full time, but at the same time, I've got bills, and we've got a family, and I got 2 kids. I can't even afford to put the second kid in, like, he's not old enough for preschool, but we were going to put him in the daycare, but daycares are so expensive. Like, I don't know if you guys know, but like, it's like a couple grand for a month, like at least the one my kids are going to, and I'm like, we can't afford to have both of them in it. Okay, can you explain why we should buy in the money calls instead of near the money or out of the money calls? Okay, so twofold to this. So when you are a market maker, you are required to basically you're required to hedge, and you're supposed to be doing this so that you don't get caught with your pants down. Because if you do, you can be in big trouble, because you're gonna have to go to the market to buy these things, and then it's gonna get ugly. They're already buying technically most of the time on the market anyway to hedge some of these things, especially when this volume picks up. But the reason why I prefer in the money is because, and especially ones that have a delta that's close to 1, is because the the higher the price goes, it's almost like owning shares at those prices. Is one thing. So it's safer. Those are safer options because when you do, for example, a $10 call, your chances of that being in the money, if you're looking at like the delta or not the delta, yeah, or the probability on those are like 20% or 30% right now. And obviously, as that goes up, you can make more money with out of the money calls, but it doesn't put the buying pressure there because they don't have to hedge those. And if they push down the price and make those expire out of the money, then they make money on the premium. So I'm trying to play this as far as my personal thing. I would rather own some deeper in the money ones that are making them actually have buying pressure. Because if you buy common shares through your brokerage, they're never going to hit the lit exchange unless you're routing through IDX, which is a more honest and fair exchange. If you just go buy on any of your brokerage sites without actually routing to IDX, and some brokers don't offer IDX at all, but what will end up happening is all your stuff will end up in dark pools, and it will never actually hit. So you may buy 100,000 shares, and your brokerage is just giving you an IOU, and they're not actually going out and buying 100,000 shares on the exchange. Like Gary Gensler said that 90 to 95% of all retail trades never end up with, because they do payment for order flows. They don't need to. It's not a great system, but what I can tell you is that's the reason why I decided that in the money Aterian calls were better than, I bought a mixture of in the money calls and near the money calls. It just, those ones would have to be hedged more, which puts more buying pressure in. If you buy out of the money calls, they will not produce the same amount of buying pressure, or even like near the money calls, because if they push the price down, then they can de-hedge, and then those ones will never cause buying pressure. So personally, for me, I want to make sure that these market makers know that I want my shares and I'm willing to exercise and get them. So that's me personally. Yeah, you paid a little bit more because of the premium, but it's a premium that's worth it because they can't mess with it. Like if you buy shares, they'll just kick the can down the road and say, we'll deal with this in T+3. And hopefully by then the price is lower. I've seen theories that the last squeeze was 13 to 15 trading days, and we are at 6 of 13 to 15. It's all going to depend on the failure to delivers and the actual data. Like I'm playing this by the data. Like I don't care about the price. The price to me means nothing. Like, and I don't, this is going to be one of the things once I see them covering shorts, that's when I'm going to be like, okay, at least something's happening. At this point, they're not really covering. They're just trying to push down the price and holding on for dear life. Do you personally have a price target for trimming? I mean, so here's the thing. Like everyone's going to have their own trading plan, and for some people, they're going to take profits at different levels, and that's fine. It is for you. It's your decision. No one's, this is not, if you sell your, you can sell whenever you want, and you can buy whenever you want, and I don't have financial advice for anyone because that's not what I do. I can tell you from my personal opinion, I don't think this is done yet, so I don't really want to sell a ton of them down here at this level because I think it's going to get spicy. I think it's going to get a little bit, uncomfortable for these guys, and they're going to have to start buying things that are, a lot higher than what there are now. Okay, I put the Patreon link. Okay, and they have a couple different stocks that they're manipulating, a whole basket of memes. Would ATER potentially cause them to lose control of the others while they focus on us? So we're such a small cap that I don't think that's going to be the case. They'll lose out on this one, but they have such bigger positions on the other ones. I don't see us being a catalyst for like making AMC or GameStop running. Like those just. And they may not have been the same shorts. Like I think for the most part, most of the people that have shorts are like some of the major players like Citadel and like Susquehanna, and there's a couple others that have like shorts on us, and a lot of puts. But they also hedge with long positions too. So like it's not all those particular ones. Like there's a variety of them that are there's probably two or three major shorts, and they may have ties to those other big guys, but like down the line, they got greedy, and then they're getting, I think this is going to be different solely because I think retail's a lot more educated, and maybe if we can do a better job of making sure retail's educated, then things will go better as far as like I know the worth of my stock, and I don't think when people saw GameStop and AMC running up, they understood the worth of their stock, and so they when they saw waterfalls coming, they all freaked out and they sold, and that put downward pressure, and then at that point they can snowball from there because they're starting to actually gain steam on the other side, spreading FUD, and like it just if we can keep that out of there and people can just look at the sole numbers, and if they're not covering, then I'm not closing my position. So, but yeah, I don't think ATER would actually make them lose control of their meme baskets. I think we're just part of it. And if you actually looked, I think we were running when nobody else was. So I think that's not going to be the catalyst for somebody else unless we run to like 1,000 a share, and then maybe, but it's not going to happen. So I wonder what is next after ATER. I mean, you can join our Discord. We call out plays, and yeah. What's up with that Vlad guy on Discord? Is he responsible for the jump? I mean, like, if he placed a large number of in the money calls, but I think he was buying mainly shares. I mean, if he slapped the ass, then him and I think he said he was friends with other rich people, and they claimed that they were the ones that pushed the stock up really quickly. After I think that DD dropped out on like Friday, and then I wrote another one on Sunday, and then that next day, maybe some of them saw that and were like, all right, well, let's go look at this stock again, and they went in together, and I don't know how they all work. That I don't know. I've only talked to him like twice, but is he responsible for the jump? I don't know. Like, one big whale is, or not, I don't even think it's that big, but one whale is not going to, probably cause a run by himself. There was other factors going in. Like, institutions have been tracking, like, chatter, and they saw Aterian's chatter spike way up. And so there were probably some short hedge or long hedge funds that were like, we should probably jump in on this. They bought in. You probably have, a handful of, sorry, I'm getting tired. But yeah, I don't think he's solely responsible for the jump, but whatever. I mean, there's lots of factors that go into why that price moved so violently that day. And my guess would be it was a series of retail gaining interest, short or long hedge funds realizing that people were interested again, and then jumping back in, and then kind of spiraling out of control as far as like once they get this up above, like 5 to like 750, then these things get really interesting because like there's going to be a ton of shares that are going to be in the money from just on the options chains that are going to have to be like dealt with. Yes, child care is too damn high. That is true. What do you get with the Patreon? I'm still kind of like working that out because I made it last night at 2 a.m. and I don't even think I did it right. Like, I mean, they sent me a note saying that I wouldn't get any money anytime soon. I think I had to wait like 2 weeks till it clears out or something like that. But like, eventually, what I think we'll do is we'll get people in that are on some of the higher tiers. What they'll gain access to is basically where I do a lot of my research on the Discord. So that way, when people approach us and say, "Hey, have you look at this ticker?" and we start, a lot of the like mods and some of the people who have been around for a while, we'll have them join in. We'll kind of research together, and we'll pull everything apart, and then kind of make sure it's a good trade. And then, but if you're in that room, you're probably seeing all that happen, so you get a good sense of like it, before the rest of the Discord. I kind of because I want to write up a good DD before I just go ahead and just But you would be able to see, okay, if things are looking good here, and in that room, you'd probably be able to kind of get information earlier than the people before I write the DD. So. Can you tell us what delta means for like smooth brains? It's basically the change in price. With options, like there's a bunch of really good videos you can watch on options, but delta is basically in. I guess the way I should describe it, even though I'm like tired, when you have a delta of close to 1, that means you're almost entirely probable. If your delta is 1, it means it's 100% like going to be in the money in that instance that I was using. A delta of like zero point 0.2 is only 20%. So when I say like you want a delta that's closer to like 1 or like 90, those are the reasons why. It just means it's basically probability of the call option being in the money when I was using it in that example. Let's see. Can't in the money calls also be hedged through dark pools though? I don't think. Let's see. Off the top of my head, I don't think that's true. Because I think you can go through. Let's look it up. Let's find out. Because sometimes I don't know everything. So let's see. Can dark pool options trade through dark? So dark pool is a private exchange for trading stocks, derivatives like options, things that can't be accessed by the public. Yeah, so it looks like they probably can cover some through there. But really, what's going to boil down to that's a small percentage that they're going to probably go through there. And if they do that, like they're still going to owe those shares, and the FTDs will pile up on that. So like, yes, they can go through them. It looks like, but at the same time, it doesn't matter because eventually they're still going to end up in FTD. So that's the one thing is now just because you get on the reg show doesn't mean anything, but at the same time, once you're on there, there's some more eyes on you. So the more you are kind of bending and breaking rules, the more you can get slapped on the butt by the SEC if they ever actually do anything. And if they don't do anything, we can start complaining and then, go from there. All right, let's see. Thanks. Thanks. So Superstock DD, haha. Dark pools internalized are they've never seen. Yeah, so like that is true. Like they can route some of them through dark pools, payment for order flow. They can offset them. Like it is what it is, and it's not great because that's how the market works. But you should write your senators and your Congress people and say, hey, listen, like we don't like the system how it is, and you should be active. And if you're not doing that, then shame on you because you're allowing politicians to get a free pass for letting these guys do what they do. And like I'm very pragmatic about how I approach things, but like I do keep in contact with my senator and my House representative, and I've let them know at least once a month that I don't like what's going on with the stock market. I don't like payment for order flow. I don't like how the SEC is not underfunded. I don't like all sorts of things, and they send me letters back saying, thank you for your concern. We will look into this, and they never actually do. But at least I'm trying. All right, let's see. One thing in common I've seen with ATER and other companies before a huge spike comes out, there's no specific news that we've seen the last week. Correct. Well, there was at least some news. There was the new chairperson that came from Microsoft and Amazon is now sitting on the board. So that is bullish because she does come with good experience. And then I think, did they have anything else that was going on? Let me think off the top of my head. But I know that was one thing that was at least in the news that it's funny because they're trying to make sense of why these things happen. I mean, like these news articles, they're like people that don't really understand stocks and don't understand how this all works, and they write stories and they're like, well, I guess the price increased because they added this new board member. And it's like that's not how it works. Like these guys were, shorted down to oblivion, and then retail basically figured out, or retail and institutions, the long institutions, figured out this was undervalued and they bought in. Like that's really why the price moved. But these articles, they're written by people that are not as smart, or at least being paid to be dumb. And that's why you'll see like headlines like the reason why the stock moved up is because this new board member was added. That's not why. Okay, let's see. Yeah, but the reason these things spike, and it's because of FTDs, or if it's because there's, basically fuckery has happened, and they'll try to make up reasons for it, but they don't want to admit that the market's corrupt and there's a ton of just bad actors out there. And the honest truth is, yeah, there is naked shorting on the market, and it's rampant, and they can't admit that, because if they admit that, then it shows that there's something wrong with the system. And if something's wrong with the system, then there has to be change. And if there's change, then these guys don't make as much money, because if you level the playing field, they don't have as much, leverage over retail. They can still bully us down, but if we stick around, they eventually have to deal with it. The current system right now is they can shake the tree and get people to sell, because they can sell shares that aren't even there. Not naming any specific company, I'm just saying that's what they do. They will sell shares and not even attempt to locate them. So, let's see. How do you know when they start covering? We'll actually see huge green candles, and we'll see the data actually show that they're actually the short interest is going down, because they have to report that kind of stuff. Let's see. They are covering already price surge. So they've started covering a little bit, but most of the data shows that they're not fully, we're not down to 10% short interest. We're still sitting over 37%. So we'll see. They'll report some stuff. Or Texas numbers are always bad. But yeah, when they start closing up their positions, you'll start seeing the price really rising. And so, like you saw on that one graphic from Discord, the last time the shares on loan went skyrocketing, the price was skyrocketing too. So that's kind of what we're looking for. Good night, Anon. See you tomorrow pre-market. Get some rest. Thanks. You too, guys. All right. Where's everyone saying this? Reddit, short squeeze. Okay. Institutions sorted from $15 to $2. They need to cover to get out of their position to make money. That's why we see a price surge, but it won't be sustainable. Sustained, yeah. Yeah, it will be sustained because there's too much volume, and they'll have FTDs piling up. So, let's see. The name of the game is actually trying to write off your politicians. If enough people do it, then, yeah. I mean, if people were threatening to actually get rid of them and get somebody that would listen to retail, I mean, that would be a start. It'd be a nice start. Curious question: have you encountered any news on why the stock rose or drop is actually accurate? Let me internalize that. All right, so curious question: have you encountered any news why the stock rose or the drop is actually accurate? Honestly, so there's no news that actually drives these things. These are all all this happened was because these guys got greedy, and then once there was actually volume coming in, it's causing them to lose control of their positions. And so, yeah, they're going to get back at a couple, when people start selling and they are able to cover out some positions and reset some FTDs, that will start going. But the price is going to go up while retail and everybody's buying, but it's going to come in waves. And that's why you'll see initial huge volume, then a couple of days later, another spike. And that's kind of how you'll see this in the long run. You're going to see these coverings and the spikes, and you're going to have these bull flags break out and then consolidate, and that's what we're going to see. But over this weekend, we'll see how much hype these guys get. Let's see. What is an OTC to a what takes an OTC to a common stock? You're talking about over the counter? Yeah, so find one that's actually acquiring business, but I don't know if it's time. Are you asking for a different company, I'm guessing, DJ Pollard? ATER already lost a lot of money doing shady finance activities, and they borrowed tons of money again. The future's not good. It will take years to be profitable. Oh, so this guy's got. We're all going to have heavy bags in our future, guys. Sun Woo Kim has told us. I think this is Sunny from the Discord long, long ago. That's who I think this is. He is the guy that was saying that I think the Korean government was watching him, and they were, and so he sold ATER and then has been for a loss, and it's just been kind of hanging around trying to talk about it. But yeah, this none of this stuff has to do with any of their finances. So if you look fundamentally, Aterian's not a great play, but if you actually look at the chart and if you look at the short interest, that's what's going to make it run. So, I mean, yeah, I was going to say the setup's different. Like, this guy has been on, he was currently on the Discord. He freaked out and sold, and then, it is what it is. Like, yeah, it's. Yeah, I seem to recall. I think I'm pretty sure this is that guy Sonny, and he was freaking out, and then he ended up I think he was saying like the Korean government was after him or something. It was weird, and then I think one of the mods just banned him, and they were like, I think it was one of the mods banned him because they were like, you were just jabbering on. Okay, as long as we finish over 5, we should be good this week. Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's a ton of calls that are all going to be in the money at 5. So, honestly, like I said, the price doesn't matter to me. It is what it is. All right, so let's see if we can get something else set up. Does anyone else have other questions going into tomorrow? We know where the short interest is. We know the cost to borrow, at least as of right now, is, let's see, Vladimir. Are you talking about the supposed whale, John? Yeah, the market is closed on Friday. I made a mistake when I was writing the DD. I was, rushing through it, and I totally forgot it was Good Friday. Not really anymore. Just wanted to buy as low as possible. Yeah, and just look for dips. Like, there's going to be dips. Like, throughout this whole run up, you'll see, bull flag up. You'll see it sag down, and then you might find an opportunity to buy. And at that point, you can re-enter. And they'll probably do it when make the RSI cool off. Like right here, you had a bunch of buying, and then RSI cooling off. That's your dip there. You get lower price to enter at, and then boom, you head back up. You're going to see those happen. All right, let's see. Sun Woo, if you can get Kim Jong to put North Korea's. All right, we're not going to read this. He says you're shilling, but you have it set up at work. Wait. He says you're shilling. You have a setup at work. A few comments above mine. Wait, what? I don't know. I'm reading through. I think what they're trying to say is that this play, as far as like Aterian, has a great setup right now. It doesn't matter that the company is not profitable. Like, if you look solely off the balance sheet, then yeah, it looks like it's, right now it's at book value. But when you start taking account the short interest, that's going to be really where the things are. It took longer than I thought it was going to take. Obviously, like, I thought this was going to run down, and then once it hit book value or like around like current assets, it would have sprung back up, and then we would have had this earlier. But it lasted. They bled it out a little bit longer than I thought. Do I think that Aterian can hit $5 by next week? Yeah, I think that. I think we should be well above that point. That's just my personal opinion. Like, but I also, once again, I'm not buying options that are out of the money. Like, if technically that's out of the money, if we gap up tomorrow and then it's in the money, that'd be different. But like, I would rather, if I was picking up something for next week, I would probably pick up a 4 personally. If I was going to do it, a 4 would be more meaningful than a 450 or a 5, because those ones could be taken down. But like a 4 would be harder for them to push if we gap up. So, couldn't it hit double digits next week? Yeah, it very well could. Bro, I'm getting hyped. Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, like, it's got a great technical setup. It's got a great fundamental setup as far as like if you look at the squeeze numbers, if you look at like purely short interest and like what's going on here, these guys are under pressure, and it's going to cause the stock price to go very, very high, very, very quickly. So, I mean, these are the things that you kind of see every once in a while, and you go, I really wish I was in on the bottom of that, and you guys actually are. So, I mean, the majority of people will find out about this once it's already gone up like 100%, another 100%, and then they're going to go, that's overvalued, and they're going to start buying puts on it. Yeah, so once again, like at tomorrow opening, I expect it to go probably gap up and then have one large like run up, and then they'll just short the crap out of it. I've been researching. Yeah, honestly, am I able to just block this guy? I don't know how this all works, but he's not. Anyone that reads anything from Sun Woo Kim, that guy's he, if it's the same guy from our Discord that we ended up banning, he's not in a great state as far as like he was talking about the Korean government, like searching for him and you know, just weird stuff he kept saying. So I'd be taking anything he says with a grain of salt. Do you think it's a similar setup to Spurt? We're gonna have to see what the option chains do tomorrow. At one point, Spurt had the entire, I think, shares outstanding locked up at just like one strike price. Because they're still pretty cheap right now, we'll see what the options do. If they explode up in IV, then it'd be harder for that to happen. But if there's a couple dips here, those shares might get cheaper, or these options might get cheaper. And once there's enough in the money ones that they keep owing it, yeah, it gets. They're every time this happens, every time there's a grouping of tons of in the money, it's going to have to move up the next week because they have to deal with those shares. Like the market maker is going to have to start hedging those shares. So, all right, let's see. All right, I needed DD. I know. Anyone else have any pertinent questions? Or I know this wasn't like I wanted to really pull up and see if I can get that Thinkorswim to work, but I don't think it's going to because it keeps coming up with the same error every time I do it. But I did want to go over that thing. But if you go back and you're able to, maybe somebody in the Discord, or if somebody goes back and watches that Friday, if you can let me know where I started talking about that and showing on the indicators why I thought it was doing what it was doing, it would have been probably in the middle or then towards the end of the day. I covered it twice on Friday. So if you can maybe tell me the timestamps on those in the Discord, that'd be great. So if anyone's interested, I can send you the link to the Discord too, if you're not already in it. And once again, like I don't expect these things to be popular. Like we've got 50 people in here. I'm not like a huge streamer. I'm not a huge YouTube person. I don't think anyone really wants to hear me, but everyone's told me to at least try to do it. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. Let's see. Inflation data, yep. CPI data should drop on Tuesday. I mean, honestly, we when the market slumped, Aterian was still going up, so they'll use that as an excuse. But all right, let's see. Thanks for everything. Thanks, guys, for coming in. For options, what would you recommend this week, next week, or the week after, or May 20th? So it depends on what your goal is. Like, obviously, theta is going to affect you greatly this week because it's a short week. It's gonna, really be sped up. If you're buying deep, like if you're buying like a $2 call or like a $3 call for this week, that would probably have to be, hedged, as like pretty much like it's shares. They would have to hedge most of them. So that one would cause buying pressure. If it was, for example, I guess next week, I would probably. I'm just stepping these up. Like every single week, as we get higher in price, I'll put more in like the 350s. If we're at like 5, I I'm just walking it up behind it. And that's kind of the strategy I have, and then making them deliver shares, because I think the problem is they don't have these shares, and that's what's going to drive the price up and continue to drive the price up until enough people sell that they can kind of get these things. Are you worried about the traditional stock market taking a dump? No, honestly, I'm not, because this can run completely inverse. Like if you see the entire market dumped out on, I think it was Tuesday, and we were up still like a huge amount, or maybe it was Wednesday, but we still finished green. Like we had these 2 days where like the market was absolutely like terrible to us, and Aterian still was like strong. So I'm not so much. I mean, they're going to use it as an excuse, and they tried those days also, but they just had too much buying to do. So yeah, look for those days, and then if you like the stock, buy it, and you'll produce a bunch of buying pressure. So, okay. Anyone else got anything? Or so when it dips, you buy even more than hold. Yeah, I mean that's how I invest. I mean, if I like a stock long and I think it's undervalued, and I think it will go higher, then I'm going to try to find entry points in. Oh my God! Just I don't know how to. Can I block him? Block user on YouTube, or should I ban him? Let's see. Put user in timeout. Okay, we can mute him. That's what it looks like, and we'll go back and just take him out. Like the guy's ridiculous. So anyway, going back. Yeah, he's just a weirdo shill. Like, I mean, like, I'm not sure what his deal is. He used to write me like messages on Reddit, like crazy things, like trying to find my identity. Like, it's just weird stuff. Like, it's just, I don't think he's all there. So anyway, we'll figure out how to block him in the future. Are we going to? I think we're going to be surprised tomorrow. Ortex triggered a 3 squeeze signals. Whales and other ones are seeing this, researching. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fight. I mean, it's going to gap up, is my guess, and then we'll pop up and then get shorted down, and then we'll pop and, like, it's going to go up in waves. Like, for example, you have this consolidation, another bull flag. Consolidation, another bull flag. Like, maybe Thursday of the week or Friday, they're going to have another bull flag of this week, and then we're going to be up in here. So like, yeah, and it's going to keep going like that until eventually, if they get margin called, then we'll go, and then that's what we're going to see. We're going to see one of these if they get margin called. Are you long just shares? If I have long call options, and all of a sudden people started talking. Let's see. Okay. All right. So you're YouTube in denial. You'll get around soon enough. Thanks, Mr. Dude. I was going to say, I mean, I would do this if I made enough money doing it. But at this point, I don't make enough money. And I think I checked the Patreon. I think I still have 14 people. So I streamed today, and I didn't get any other Patreon support. So, like I said, I'm going to need quite a lot more than $200 a month to supplement income. And at this point, I'm not monetized by YouTube. So, but if people wanted to hear me talk throughout the day and follow stocks, and I'd be fine with that. But at this point, it doesn't pay the bills. So, okay. Are you long shares, or do you have call options? I have common shares, and I also have long call options and short call options. Mike, I am loving these streams, man. It's wholesome, really good education. I hope you can keep these going. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go back to my job on Monday. I got to do, I took off Thursday and Friday. I was just, sick, and so I told my boss, and now I've got to go back to the real world. I had a nice time with you guys, but someday, if the Patreon thing works out and I'm able to, offset my entire income with that, then my wife said I could switch over and do this, But until then, I'm just going to do this. hopefully I can make a little bit extra money and put my other kid in preschool. Leave him unblocked. Just report his profile. Yeah, it goes on YouTube. We'll pick it up. Okay. Is SST a competitor to ATER as far as a high volume ticker right now? What are my thoughts? So SST is like a high risk, high reward, and I played them I think last week. I think I did it the day before they dumped down. They had a nice run up, and I actually sold when they were like 30% up. I have an issue with it just because I think it's if you get in and do a quick rip, it's gonna make you a good amount of money. But a lot of retail is not sophisticated enough to trade like that because they can buy and hold because that's very simple. But to really execute and like do hard stop losses and like it just for a lot of retailers, they're going to buy in at 36 and then they're going to get dumped on, and then they're going to sit there. Now it's not a horrible company. If you had to hold ones long term, it wouldn't be like the worst one to bag hold because eventually it should come up in value once those warrants are all the dilution's done. At some point you'll get picked up, but I would have rather bought Aterian at $2 a share, like it was when we kind of were telling people, which was near an all-time low. There's no like an S1 can dump right on us at any moment. So it's risk reward. It all depends on your comfortability. For me, I didn't see I threw some call options on it and I made good money on them, and that's all I would invest personally. This to me was the better play if you're going to be at least long term. Like I would rather bet my money down at $2 that it would go up than to throw in a whole bunch of YOLO. Even though the like stats were better on it, the stats are getting better now on Aterian, and at some point it's going to be the safer of the two plays because the closer it gets to the S1 date, the easier it's just going to be at some point that it's just going to dump. And the pipe warrants on those are just going to come out and they're just going to flood the market, and everyone that's been buying up and saying this is the only thing is going to get completely crushed. And I don't want to see the retail do that, but if retail knows that it's a high risk, high reward, and at any moment the S1, like they file out on Monday and say, yep, we got the pipe warrants, and then everyone that's been buying in is going to get screwed. So to me, I would rather be in Aterian than an SST, but I don't see it really as everyone else views it as competition. I don't think it is. Like, sure, they're taking volume away from each other, but like they're different, very different plays. So it is what it is. Dechargers. I've seen so many stocks go up huge after a long weekend. Yeah, I mean, it does happen, especially because hype grows, and then like if it really gets volume, then they have to settle all these things, and that's when things get out of control. So a ton of $5 strikes for this Thursday, almost 20K contract. You're saying you hold them, or you're saying that you noticed on the options chains that there's almost 20K contracts, which would be about 2 million shares. Depending on how ATER does, you'll get more. Oh yeah, I mean, more Patreons or more patrons if Aterian goes up. Yeah, I mean, I would hope at some point, I'd be able to kind of help people out. I know people want them to kind of walk you through, but like at this point, I can't do it. If you want to join the Discord, I'll be in the Discord and throughout the day tomorrow. And if anyone has any questions, you can just ask it on the Aterian channel, and there's some smart people in there, and they can kind of answer your questions. Tara, I know you don't really want to answer this and take into consideration what we do know and what we've seen in the past squeeze plays as a price range. How could this really go? Okay, so if you look at the previous run up, the float was smaller. However, the volume was smaller in the beginning and eventually grew out of control. This time, though, we started with a lot of volume, and I think this one may be a runner. And the biggest obstacle it's going to have is at 25. And they're going to try to tell people the short squeezes. I mean, you can see right here. Like, look at this particular one right here. They were trying to convince everyone at like $10 basically. It ran up to like 9. They were like, oh, we get rejected off there. It was chopping around here, and everyone was saying, oh, it's done. That's what I remember people saying, like, oh yeah, this thing's done. It's not, and then it popped up to like $20 a share, 19. But like, you're always gonna have those things where like. No, number one, I've noticed like short squeeze sub. Nobody wants the other person to do well. Like, it's just the nature of the beast. Like, you want your play to be the one. You don't want anyone else's play to be the one. Like me, I don't really care. Like, I was just annoyed when people don't understand the facts and then they're pumping things and they're getting retail to buy into those things when that's not right. So, like, for example, Prague and Nile. Those are two that I was kind of annoyed at because they're offering an ATM, and then they're coming in, and this is basically people that are trying to raise money for the company. So they go into the short squeeze, they let the short interest build up. So they're shorting. They make the short interest look really good, but retail doesn't read the filings. And so what they do is they have all this dilution on there, and they get retail to like FOMO in, and then they dump these shares on them, and they can't figure out why they're the price is going down, and it's because they're actively being diluted, and these companies are being paid to basically pump them to get retail to basically fund their warrants, and they don't get it. Like, when once retail gets their mindset, they're like, oh no, like, this guy told me this thing's worth like $40 a share and it's only 15 cents right now. And it's like, maybe someday it will be worth 40 a share, but it's not now. And it's not doing it when you're actively being diluted. So like, I don't like retail getting hurt. And I feel like a lot of times, like, I don't think people even knew what warrants were until I started writing DDs on them for short squeeze. And now all of a sudden everyone's looking for warrants everywhere, and I'm like, you guys should have been worried about this stuff when this thing even formed. Like, but it shows you that retail really doesn't understand kind of big picture stuff, and that's why I've been getting a lot of notes saying like, dude, your stuff is really helping me understand like how the market works, and like, I've been trading a long time, and it's one of those things where it's like I assumed everyone already knew this stuff, and then I found out like. No, a lot of retail doesn't know any of this stuff, so I'm just trying to help out if I can. There's stuff I don't know, and I'm not perfect, but I mean I have a decent base of knowledge, and I'm trying to share it. And I started a Discord just teach people for free, and I don't make any money on it, but it makes me feel good that retail is learning and not falling for the same stupid tricks that happen over and over and over again. So. The wife always prevents me from playing in the stock market. It's about that. Thank you for your service. I was the airman 20 years ago. Hey, yeah, thanks for your service. Let's go. Too late for that. I'm only hoping for below 5. Yeah, I mean, if we could get a dip, that'd be great. Hey, move to Sweden. We have Social Security, lower, cheap healthcare, free schools, primary. Yeah, that'd be nice. I was gonna say, you guys are one of the happier places in the world, from what I hear. So I don't know if the wife would be up for that, but we probably would have to learn, another language. And then let's see. My bet is price and volume keep up into Thursday. The biggest move could be Thursday after hours. Yeah, it's very possible. That's how Spurt and OCJ. Yeah, so that's very possible. That's the setup, that they're going to just have to let it roll on Thursday, and then going into the prior week, it'll be like 15 a share all of a sudden when you wake up, and it's just going to be out of control. Free dental until you're 21 years old. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. Selling Sweden pretty well. I looked at the options chains on Yahoo. Wish I held 20K contracts. Yeah, that'd be nice. What kind of price target do you think this hits? It's hard to say. I mean, we're going to slow down probably around 25 if it hits 25. I mean, because there's going to be 5 million warrants, so they'll have a little relief there, but it really depends on what retail's doing at that point. Like, if retail's interested in staying interested in the stock, then these FTDs are just going to keep mounting, and so you're going to see like an interesting thing happen, which is they got to figure out how to get these shares to all these people, and some of them sometimes the only way you can do that is if you raise the price high enough where people actually will sell. But I plan on actually sticking around and telling retail what I see, and if I don't think they're being on the up and up and covering and doing what they are, I'm just gonna say what I think, and just, my personal opinion, and I may not be right, but so far I wasn't wrong. I thought Aterian was being pushed way too low, and I think they did it with some nefarious means, in my opinion. At least it looks very much like they pushed the price too low using nefarious means. I'm supposed to watch what I say. Apparently, if I say too much about certain things, they will sue me and put a gag order on me, and then I can't tell you guys about stuff. So I am doing my best to try to keep things on the up and up without saying too much. All right. You need a Wall Street bets bailout for some extra FOMO power. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. All right, we're losing some people in here. We're only got down to 38. Does anyone else have any questions? I think it's like, 11 now? Coming up on 11 for Eastern Standard Time. So you guys let me know. This dips down 4 or lower. I'm putting 15K. And yeah, I mean, if you can get in, I'm buying dips. It's going to be very, very interesting what happens soon. So, I mean, eventually, anything that's happening, though, on these large volume days, you're going to see a price rise usually in the following days, like either 3 days or 2 days. It just all depends on the options and what's going on. But it's going to be moving higher, just because at this point, they haven't even started covering, really. So... All right, so if anyone else doesn't have questions, just waiting for anything. Everyone's just kind of saying if it dips down, they're going to buy the dip. Yeah, I mean, I don't give financial advice, but I'm personally doing that. So we'll see what it goes to. But I need to start writing the due diligence. Thanks for coming on here, guys, and listening, and hopefully we'll be able to, get things going. It'll be good, and then we'll have a good tomorrow, and hopefully in the morning we'll see a nice gap up, and we'll go from there. Wish people would slap the ass. Yeah, I mean, they've got algos doing all that stuff, so it's good stuff. But thanks so much, guys. I will go ahead and leave a link to the Discord and a link to the Patreon if you guys are interested in me eventually coming back and streaming full time someday. I just need a couple, to show my wife that I can actually, get enough people to support the Patreon thing and kind of go from there. So I will go ahead and post the Discord first. So if anyone wants to join this Discord, it's a great group of people. We all research together. We go through different plays, all the balance sheets, the filings, really trying to make sure we understand things, and then we kind of go from there. And it's free, so it is what it is. And if you want to join, it's completely free, and everyone there is good people. So there's that one. And I will post the Patreon too, which, here we go. That will be the last thing I do, and then you guys have a great evening, and I'll see you in the morning, and I'll start the stream up on the level 2s, but I won't be able to talk, so once we moon, your Patreon's going to blow up. I hope so. I was going to say, because I'd love to show my wife that this could be a thing, but in the meantime, I'll just keep writing Reddit DD and, streaming level 2s. All right, so anyone that wants to continue this conversation, you're more than welcome to go into the Discord, or you can write an error as long as it's open, but I don't know how long it will stay open once I leave. So, all right. Thanks so much, guys, for coming out. I appreciate you guys, listening to me. It's weird talking by yourself, but at least I'm able to read your stuff and, talk to you guys and hopefully answer any questions you have. And I'll see you tomorrow. All right. Have a great one.